Well, I thought said she didn't know if she didn't have it. I just can't. And what's your name? Yeah, and I'm Sam. Nice to meet you. Blocking the way.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's really fire person.
That's right.
And
We're blocking the aisles.
You're blocking the aisle.
Good. Do this. The same too. I'm not getting put in the car.
Hi, how are you? I'm good.
Sure?
Yeah, you just trying to do that.
All right. Right.
Good evening. Welcome to the Yreka City Council meeting for March 18th, 2025. The time is now 6:30. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Just want to remind the City Council and the audience members to silence their cell phones at this time. We did have closed session this evening, and we have no reportable action at this time. Yes. Oh, yes. And I'm sorry. And there was a conflict. So Councilman Baker did recuse herself from that meeting, and we have no reportable action. Okay, I'll do roll call. Councilman Claire.
Here.
Councilman Davis.
I'm here.
Councilman Baker.
Here.
Councilman McCoy.
Here.
And Mayor Middleton here. So we are all present. Okay, number 6, approval of the agenda. This is the time if we approve the agenda or if anybody would like to make changes at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that immediately following the consent agenda, that we hear item 11F, which is the second reading and adoption of an ordinance, followed by 11E.
Let's see here.
I did.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and then do I go for that one or do I go for the first and then any other changes? What's that? Okay, take that one and if anybody else needs changes, to the agenda, then we go back. Okay. I have the motion to, sorry. Lost my page here. What item did you say? I'm sorry.
That item 11F be heard immediately after the consent agenda and followed by 11E.
Okay, I have the motion for 11F to be heard after 11B, correct? Motion from Councilman Baker and a second from Councilman Davis. Roll call, Councilman Clare,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yep. Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
No.
and Council Middleton would be no. So the motion passes 3-2 to move that item. So my request would be, since we do have a item on the agenda regarding the possible that 11E be moved to the beginning of the meeting because of concerns that we possibly could not have a voting member that is up for discussion tonight on the council. So that we move that item at the first part of the meeting so 11E being the first item for discussion. And I will make that motion, 11E be the first topic.
This is Councilman McCoy, and I will second that motion.
Okay, I have the first from, we had a motion from Councilman Mayor Middleton and the second from Councilman McCoy. I'll do roll call.
Could you repeat the motion, please?
The motion to move 11E to the very front of the agenda. So the very first item. So I guess it would go to
11E.
yeah, 11E. We would make that go to in place of 11A. So bring that to 11A. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I have some clarification on your motion? Are you requesting that item E be heard under 11 city business as the first item under city business?
After the city business are the very first, because we don't know if at this time, as it's being questioned, if we have a sitting member, council member that's voting at this time is my concern.
This is where.
Oh.
I think it's why she-
Oh, is that what you're asking? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where the other one, I think. You have to-
I'm not clear what you're asking. I'm not clear what you're asking. So can you repeat what you're asking?
Oh, I was just asking if your motion was to move 11E to the first item heard under section 11.
Yes. Be the first, yeah, for before any other matter, city business, other matters.
Right now, what we've done, we've approved to move 11F to here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then 11. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. To here.
Yes.
It's top secret.
Yes, 11A in
Got it.
place.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I'm moving 11A to the very first of the would like to the very first under city business or
Consent agenda.
consent agenda
After-
after consent agenda. Be that for that moved before any other business.
11A.
11A. Mhm. Yeah, instead of 11. Is it E?
And then you're moving
Yeah.
11E to what the motion is move 11E up here.
Yes.
And so this one would go
Mr. McCord, would you please walk into your
Oh.
microphone?
right here.
What's your microphone?
Well, I'm talking.
Oh, yeah, but I don't.
11E would go to here. And 11F would go before that to right here.
I'm asking for, yeah, I asked, she's already got the motion approved. I asked for 11E to go in place of 11A, go to 11A.
Got it?
Okay. That's what I was asking
Thank
for.
you.
Okay.
There's a lot of here and there and everything being talked about here. So I'm understanding the way the current agenda goes. It would be roll call, which you've done, approval of agenda, which we're on. Presentations would happen as is,
Yes.
public comment happen as is, then consent agenda, correct? And then items 11F and 11E. And then item 10, public hearing, there are none.
Right.
Then
I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. Yes.
11E.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say I meant the city. I meant after the public comment and the consent agenda, moving that ahead.
Then
Understand.
you are making a motion.
Yes.
Made
Made the motion.
Yes.
A second.
Your motion that's currently on the table tends to accomplish.
I want to move 11E before any voting decisions is what I'm asking for. So before we start voting to 11, so if that goes in front of 11A, then we move that to city business. If that's under city business, I guess I'll ask for your advice. So that's under city business. That's city business, correct?
You're saying one thing in part of your statement, and then you're saying something different in the second half.
I just want to move before any discussion of voting because we have an issue on hand. If we have a council member that should not be voting at this time. So that's what I'm asking.
Like, E to right before 11F or before the consent.
Very first, yeah, 11, yeah,
You're saying before?
Be-
11F?
before 11F. Yes. The very first topic. We got that?
Currently 11F is first. We've made that motion. And then we go to, when you get to city business, we go to 11E. And then 11A. Is that what we are currently doing?
Well, that's what we haven't voted yet. We haven't voted yet. No. We voted on Councilman Baker's.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
So that's what is proposed.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, this is
Sure.
the city manager, Jason Leber. So yeah, Mr. Councilmember Davis is correct. So there was a motion and a vote that passed 3-2. It has altered the current agenda so that 11F is moved before 11A, and then 11E is moved directly after 11F, and then the rest of the agenda would stay the same. So it would go F, E, A, B, C, and so on. And that's currently what is going to happen, barring a change of the motion that is now requesting to move 11E before 11F.
Yes. Does everybody understand now? Okay. So I have the motion to move 11E back up before F. Correct? Is that what I'm totally Everybody's confusing me.
It's your motion.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're asking.
Yeah.
to do Section 11, be ordered as 11E, 11F, 11A.
Yes. Yes.
That's your motion. You should
Yep.
make that.
Okay. I'll make it again. So I am making a motion to recommend that we move 11E be the first item before F. Because that's, yeah. And then so I make that a motion.
I already second.
Okay. I have a first from myself, second from Councilman McCoy, Councilman Claire,
No.
Councilman Davis,
No.
Councilman Baker,
No.
Councilman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman, yes, so the motion fails, so we will move that one forward as requested.
So
Okay.
I've got it. I've got one I'd like to recommend.
Okay.
I'd like to recommend that agenda item 11E come immediately after agenda item 11F.
Is it the way it is already?
Now, current setup is it's after items A, B, C, and D.
Mr. Pro Tem, this is Jason Leber, the city manager once again, but it is already structured in that fashion. There was a motion to move 11F to the top and then preceded by 11E and then starting with A, B, C, D after that.
And that motion just failed. 3-2 in a 3-2 vote.
No, it was Councilmember Baker's motion that passed 3-2.
Say, I can't, what's that? Say it again?
Yeah, Councilmember Baker made a motion to move item 11F and 11E to the start of section 11, thereby the flow of events being 11F, 11E, 11A, 11B, 11C, and so on. And that motion that passed 3-2.
I'm sorry. I thought she had asked for it to move to just 11F to move just after consent agenda.
It's the same thing. Since we have no
Right.
public hearings.
No public hearing, yeah, no public hearing. So it's 10, we have no public hearing.
Oh, okay, okay, I see. I see what you're saying. No public hearing. Yeah, I stand corrected. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We gotta get back on track. Okay, now we're at presentations. This is first 5 Siskiyou Child Abuse Prevention and Council Collaborative Proclamation.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Jean Trevison. I'm with First 5 Siskiyou, and we'd like to thank you for allowing us to make a presentation to the city of Yreka, respectfully requesting the city to adopt a proclamation to declare April as Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And the aim of Child Abuse Prevention Month is to raise awareness about the importance of preventing child abuse and neglect, and also showing appreciation for all of those that work in the field and to help those individuals, and also to acknowledge organizations who work hard to support families and keep children safe and healthy. And this year's theme is doing things differently, believing in communities. And First 5 is seeking partnerships to have organizations and hopefully the city to display a children's memorial flag, plant a pinwheel garden, participate in activities during the week of the young child. And I do have pinwheels and yard signs if anybody would like those. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then I believe, Mayor, that you have the proclamation.
Yep,
Thank
I
you.
do. For some reason I have 3 copies, but I see one's for me to sign up for this. Okay. So this will be for April 20th, 2025. I'm sorry, April 2025. The Siskiyou Child Abuse Prevention Council Collaborative Proclamation. This is whereas to become healthy adults, all children deserve to live in safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities. Whereas children are vital to Siskiyou County's prosperity and future success. Whereas the people of Siskiyou County believe in celebration of life, inclusion, and hope through our children and deplore and condemn acts of violence committed upon the children of our community. Whereas the lives of children who have been hurt or lost to child abuse are honored by studying their stories in order to prevent future abuse and protect the innocent, health, and lives of all our county's children. Whereas child abuse, rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment impact our society. Whereas child abuse, neglect, sexual assault prevention is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future generations. Whereas research has shown the enormous impact the positive parenting practices have on a child's social, emotional, intellectual development, and future success. Whereas communities that understand the importance of prevention and support for the well-being of the citizens thrive and prosper. Whereas effective child abuse and sexual assault prevention succeed because of partnership among citizens, all sectors of the county. Whereas April is the month to focus attention of the needs of all children and prevention of sexual assault. Whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is evidence that we can be successful in preventing child abuse and sexual violence in Siskiyou County. Therefore, we hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month, as well as April 5th through the 11th, 2025, as a week of the young child. We call upon citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and business to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening families in the communities in which we live. All right.
Thank you so very much.
So on this day, I will sign, and we will sign this in proclamation for the Siskiyou Child Abuse Prevention Collaborative Proclamation for April 2025.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jean. Okay. Okay. Public comments. Public participation is welcomed and invited at all city council meetings. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on all matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the regular agenda. If your comments concern an item noted on the regular agenda, please address the council when that item is open for public comment. The city requests that persons addressing the city council refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, and disruptive remarks. Council members, when recognized by the mayor, may ask clarifying questions of the presenter, but no action may be taken by the city council during the public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the city council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. This time is set aside for residents to address the city council on matters listed on the consent agenda, as well as other items not included on the agenda. If your comments concern an item listed under the public comment hearing or new business section of the agenda, please address the city council when that item is open for public comment. Please speak in the microphone from the podium. The podium electronically adjusts up and down to accommodate the speaker. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. Please address the council as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 7 copies. These become public record. Please limit to your remarks to 5 minutes. Since council is unable to take action on issues not on the agenda, your matter may be referred to staff for follow-up or placed on a future agenda. The public comment period is not intended to be a question and answer period or conversations with council or staff. So at this time, if anybody has public comment, to come on up.
Gary Sams, and I'm the Regional Director of Siskiyou Modoc Regional Department of Child Support Services. And I'm here in support of my wife and first five in the proclamation that you just read. And I would urge the city to do whatever they can to get the message out, either through social media, putting up pinwheels, banners wherever you can, and possibly challenging community businesses in that support as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lorenzo Love. California Government Code 36513A states that if a city council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings.
Actually, Renzo, if you can come back.
No, this is about what has already happened. This is about the consent agenda.
Okay. You were talking about the consent agenda?
If a city council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings for 60 days consecutively from the last regular meeting he or she attended, his or her office becomes vacant and shall be filled as any other vacancy. Drake Davis missed 62 consecutive days. By state law, his office is already vacant. He cannot vote. He cannot second a motion. Therefore, the motion Councilwoman Baker made never received a second. I'm asking you to comply with state law or be subject to a state investigation for your unlawful behavior.
Don Mariachi, I am also asking you to comply with state law by allowing Drake Davis to remain on this council is breaking the law. Some of you may not have a problem with criminal activity, but for one of you, it's his day job. He works for he's an investigator for the DA. It actually matters. So I would ask that you please understand that Drake Davis vacated his position. He chose to be in Mexico and in Montana, not here. Missed 2 meetings. Whether he was here for a special meeting does not matter. Whether we had a council meeting does not matter. It's not written in the law. Your job is to follow the law. And the other person is right. There wasn't a second because that chair is vacant. He made that so. None of us did. We're not picking on him. He chose to be everywhere else except for here, where we elected him to be here, doing our business. Chose to be in Montana, chose to be in Mexico. That's his deal, not ours. We're not picking on him. Drake Davis vacated his seat. That is an empty seat. You do not have a second. Stand.
Do we have any public comment, other public comment at this time? Okay. Okay. I will move forward with the, I guess, before I move on to the consent agenda, I'm very concerned, if I may, Mr. Jared, that we are moving forward when this item has been brought up, if there is a council member seating here that does not really have a right to vote, and that he should have been removed a long time ago from what I understand from the calls I have made that your job is to remove, when that was notified to you to remove that person, that they do not have a vote anymore. So I'm concerned sitting here tonight, knowing what you know, knowing what you're supposed to do, is allowing somebody to sit up here and continue to vote when they have vacated that seat. So I'm very uncomfortable by possibly breaking the law. I don't know if these council members are not, but I am continuing after months of asking you, you being brought to the attention of this matter, that we're breaking the law. I'm uncomfortable with it. To allow him to vote and to allow members to just ignore it. Because you're putting me in a bad position. I don't know if anybody else cares, but I do, to continue on with a meeting with a what it looks like, a non-voting member of this council. I don't think it's fair you're asking me or directing and listening to ask me to break the law. And I don't think I want to continue breaking the law until this matter is resolved. I'm very uncomfortable with it. Everybody else sitting here should be. That it's been months, it's been kicked down the can. But it was brought to my attention when a fellow other council member was missing meetings that I had to sit up here and under your direction to do certain things to make sure that he was in compliance to get approved. And then we've just ignored this situation with Mr. Davis, Councilman Davis, and it's not picking on him. You're the one who's brought up the law. We had a council member, we had a meeting we had to comply with, and now we're not complying, that the law was broke. He's vacated his seat, and you're asking me and this council just to ignore it, allow him to vote, allow another council member to move something forward that she has a personal agenda about, and allow us to break the law. I'm very uncomfortable with it. Until this matter gets resolved, or advice given if this member should be sitting here, Councilman Davis, why is this being allowed? You were supposed to get back to us, let us know if he violated the law, which there has been indication he has. And we're sitting here and it's being ignored and you're not speaking up against it. So I'm very uncomfortable moving forward until this matter is resolved with Mr. Davis, whether he is or he's not. And I don't know if you want to refer him to another firm or have another, another person at the firm advise us on this, because you're not. So I don't understand when this is the job you're hired to do, is help this council out, protect us and the city that you're hired to do, and the fairness to Mr. Davis and the rest of the council is to really come back and say yes or no. You've been letting it go, sliding on the table, ignoring it. And now it's brought up and it's been brought to my attention, from outside sources, that we are going along with a law that's being broken. And that I could get in trouble for that by allowing that. Please, not from the audience. You do not have the floor. Do not have the floor. Point of order. So I mean, if you're not going to answer, I'm going to adjourn the meeting tonight.
I'm, answering.
Well, you're just looking at me.
Just wait to finish your.
Okay, I'm finished. Thank you. Please, point of order. Point of order.
Done. Oh, man.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Sounds like what you're asking to do is now to further amend the agenda. To take item 11 E at this time here ahead of the consent agenda? Or are you asking me to comment to some of the statements that you've made?
I'm asking you, why are we continuing if this has been brought to your attention that he has vacated his seat, the law has been broken, possibly why we're allowing this member to vote, and we're still moving forward as he's a member of the council when it's been brought to the attention that he is no longer, that he's violated the 62, it was vacant for 62 days after the regular agenda. Why this is on here, why it has not been addressed. Why we're continuing voting when this should be brought, it should have been brought up a long time ago, but that we're here now. So I just don't think we should have moved forward with other meetings as well. But you were going to look into it, and we're months later, but now we're here. So I don't even know if those votes are valid going back months ago after this was brought to the attention. I don't know. We haven't heard from you. We haven't had any. So I just am very confused why this is on here, but we're ignoring it, and we're going to say, oh, let's go ahead and rush everything and have him vote, but he might not be a vote. So that's what I'm asking for. Is that probably should be heard first before he's sitting here voting on anything, if that's the case.
Well, without taking 11E now out of order, because that apparently was now discussed twice. To address your statements, I was not ordered to bring something back. It was put on the agenda by Mr. McCoy. Your rules of procedure say that council member who asks at the end of the meeting then takes that item under their wing and brings it up for discussion at the next meeting. I do not take direction from any one council member in order to take action. I do not know of what you're talking about, despite you bringing up me asking about where you were getting these statements. You've not provided me any of that information, and now there's additional statements you're making about you've been contacted by people or contacted people saying you're at risk. I know no such risk that you're under or any other council member. So there is a process. I have not been asked to provide an opinion about that. A statement was made to that effect by Mr. McCoy. The council did not vote to tell me to bring something and put it on this agenda to give you a legal opinion about this matter. There is a process for proceeding under 36-513 A or B, and that refers then to Civil Code 5803, I believe it is, and a process for determining whether a removal should happen. It is not up to me to make that determination. It is up to the council to make that determination. You have not, as a council, asked me to do that. And I had no part whatsoever in the preparation of item 11 E. And so I don't know what you're talking about, some of the statements that you've just made in your clarification. But to answer your question, are you at risk? No, I do not believe you're at risk. I do believe that Mr. Davis has improperly continued to participate. There is a process for dealing with vacation, and this council has not proceeded with formalizing that process.
Okay. All right, that clears up some of it, but it was, in my recollection, it was brought up to you, and you did have discussions with our city manager about that. And so we can have those discussions later because were made about that whole situation. So I would hope you're right. I'm very uncomfortable with how it's all. I just want it for the record. I'm very uncomfortable of the advice that has or not been given regarding this subject. So Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we finished public comment. Okay. Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one motion unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. A, cash balances budget to actual fiscal performance reports for December 2024. B, approval of minutes of the regular agenda meeting held March 4th, 2025. C, adoption of the April 2025 Siskiyou Child Abuse Prevention Council Collaboration Proclamation. D, approval of resolution 2025-06 of the City Council of the City of Yreka approving the transmission of the 2024 General Plan and Housing Element and Annual Progress Report. Adoption of Resolution 2025-07 of the City Council of the City of Yreka approving the sale of surplus property through GovDeals, a government surplus. The recommended City Council action is the motion to adopt consent agenda of the City Council of the City of Yreka as presented. What is the wish of the council?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Councilman Baker
I'll second.
and a second from Councilman Clare. I'll do roll call. Councilman Clare,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Yes.
and I, Mayor Middleton. The motion passes 5-0. There's no public hearing. We'll move on to city business and moving on to 11F. Is that right? The second so we'll move to 11F. This is the city attorney's second reading adoption of ordinance number 880, amending chapter 2.04 of the Yreka Municipal Code concerning procedures for the appointment of mayor and mayor pro tem. The recommended city council action before you is to move to waive the full reading of the ordinance and approve second reading of ordinance 880 titled an ordinance of the city council of the city of Yreka, California, adding sections 2.04.010, 2.04.020, and 2.04030 to chapter 2.04 municipal code and finding the ordinance is exempt from CEQA, and to direct city clerk to publish the summary of ordinance 880 consistent with government code section 36933. And 3, the city manager is directed to take all other actions required for adoption of the implementation of ordinance 880. Mr. Chair?
Thank you. This is the second reading of ordinance to amend the procedures for the city council to appoint members of the city council, the office of mayor and mayor pro tem. This ordinance is necessary because of the difficulty we had encountered in December in closing the normal process that was followed for traditionally has been followed of appointing a mayor. The Rosenberg's Rules of Order require a supermajority to close the nomination. There were 7 rounds of nominations made, and this council could not come up with a motion to approve on a 4 out of 5 vote to close the nominations to then appoint a mayor and mayor pro tem from your own ranks. This ordinance will change the process to a simple majority to close that nomination procedure and provides additional guidance on those rounds of nomination and voting that would occur. This is second reading. And if this is passed, this would go into effect 30 days from today.
All right, thank you. Do you have any questions or comments from the council? Okay, I will open to public comment regarding the ordinance. The second reading.
Good evening, council and mayor and attorney. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Louise Gliotto and I live in Yreka. And I feel I must comment on the mayor's concern that a council member might, and these are quotes, might want to change the process because it doesn't go their way, unquote.
I'm asking for comments regarding the second reading, please.
Pardon?
The second reading, do you have
yeah,
comments regarding the ordinance?
Yes, it is.
Nothing I said regarding the ordinance.
Pardon?
Regarding the ordinance, do you have any comments regarding the ordinance that's written?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you please get to that?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nothing that I said, the ordinance.
Well, I'm commenting on that because I want to clarify my thoughts on that. It was obvious to me and to many people in the audience that the council would never get a vote needed to nominate and to elect a new mayor. Thank God for Councilwoman Baker. She could see that using Rosenberg's was resulting in an impasse in this divided council with no end in sight. She has the courage and leadership skills to move to have the city attorney draw up a new policy/procedure to elect a mayor and a mayor pro tem using Robert's rules, which would need a simple majority to elect a mayor. She also moved to have it presented to the council at the next regular scheduled meeting for the first reading. Many hours of council time, citizens' times have been spent on council meetings since December, discussing, debating, making uncivil, unverifiable accusations towards a council member. It is time to approve the second reading and move on with the important issues of the city. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Not Louise. Anyway, I know, I can swear, but there it is. The one that says that way. Anyway, Diane Collier, Yreka, just want to back what Louise is saying, and I want to support that. And I think we ought to move forward with exactly what she's saying, so short and sweet.
All right. If there's no other public comment, I will close public comment and go to the council. What are the wishes of the council regarding 11F? For the second reading.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make the motion to move to waive the full reading of the ordinance and approve the second reading of ordinance 880 entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yreka, California, adding sections 2.04.010, 2.04.020, and 2.04.030 to Chapter 2.04, City Council of Title II, Administration and Personnel of the Yreka Municipal Code, and finding the ordinance exempt from CEQA. Further, to direct the city clerk to publish a summary of Ordinance 880, consistent with Government Code Section 36933, and also that the city manager is directed to take all actions required for adoption and implementation of Ordinance 880.
I have a motion from Councilman Baker.
Second.
And a second from Councilman Davis. We'll do roll call. Councilman Clare,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Nay.
Council Middleton's no. Motion passes 3-2. Okay, now we'll move back up. Okay. 11A. This is the
Mr.
Oh.
Mayor, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The change of the agenda now has us at 11E and
Oh.
we'll
Oh, you're
move
not.
back to the regular sequence after that.
Okay. You're on 11E right? Correct?
Mhm.
Okay, this is brought by Councilman or
McCoy.
it says, oh, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry, Paul
So-
McCoy. This is agenda title, discussion, possible action, a discussion of government code section 36513 and possible violations by Councilmember Drake Davis and whether a vacancy has occurred on the Yreka City Council. So this will be, I'm not used to the Councilmember Pro Tem McCoy.
This is Council Member Pro Tem McCoy. And what I want to talk about is a discussion of Government Code 36153 and possible violations by Council Member Drake Davis and whether a vacancy has occurred on the Yreka City Council. On September 12th of 2024, I was a mayor pro tem, suffered a heart attack, and it left me hospitalized unknowing of my participation or for a return date to the Yreka City Council. On advice from Andrew Jared, the city attorney, direction was given to the Yreka City Council to vote on an extended leave of absence beyond the 60-day time frame that was required in order to comply with Government Code 36513 and allow myself, the Mayor Pro Tem, Paul McCoy, to retain my seat. If, in fact, I had missed more than 60 days, which at the time, I only missed 41, but if I was to miss more than 60 days, then I would have lost my seat, according to Government Code 36513 and according to with help from our city attorney, Andrew Jared. At the October 1st, 2024 Yreka City Council meeting, which we're going to see part of it in a minute, the Yreka City Council voted on a special item, excuse me, added to the agenda for a leave of absence for myself, the Mayor Pro Tem. At said meeting, the city attorney, Andrew Jared, stated, and I quote, Government Code 36513, which has a 60-day time period. Okay. For any council member who misses consecutive council meetings within a consecutive 60-day period. And I believe at the time that the city attorney was attempting to help me by keeping me out of if I missed 60 days or more, keeping me on the dais. It was required by the city attorney that a vote for a leave of absence be taken in order for that a possible granted leave of absence beyond the 60-day time period, as stated in Government Code 36513. Let's see. It was inferred that if a leave of absence was not granted to me, the Mayor Pro Tem, and I missed 60 days in between meetings, that I would in fact lose my seat on the Yreka City Council based upon Government Code 36513. And I'm going to ask our city clerk now to play a little bit of that meeting so that we can listen actually to the council speaking and to the attorney and all of them in their own words.
Canada is here tonight, including myself, but I have to be here, as Councilman Davis said. Before we get started on tonight's meeting, an issue did come up that needs to be placed on the agenda for a decision for us to move forward. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our legal counsel, Mr. Jared, to weigh into the council. Mr. Jared?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Yes, as the mayor just said, an issue has come up after the posting of the agenda that requires immediate action prior to the next council meeting. And this item relates to the requested leave of absence for Mayor Pro Tem Paul McCoy. This relates to placing this on the agenda would be pursuant to Government Code 54954.2B, which requires that the council take this action and make two findings. One, that the item has come up after the posting of the agenda, and two, requires immediate action. As to item one, this item was brought to our attention of the need for leave of absence within the last, since Friday. And two, requires immediate action due to Government Code Section 36513, which has a 60-day time period for any member council member who misses consecutive council meetings during that time period, or council meetings within a consecutive 60-day period. So the request is for the council to add this item on the agenda and require a motion to that effect at this point.
Okay, I'd like to go to the council for a motion for this item for Councilman Pro Tem McCoy's absence.
I have a question.
I have a question first before you go to that. Question from Councilman Baker.
Mr. Jared, can you outline the timeframes that are involved? I mean, you said 60 days, but when does that start? When does that end?
Yes, so it would be appropriate to actually add that to the agenda before we get into discussion. But the question you raised could play into that. So yes, the time frame from when the consecutive 60 days starts is from the last council meeting that a council member was at. And so looking back on the last council meeting that Mr. McCoy was present, this could, at the next council meeting, end up in a potential lapse. Therefore, that's why it's necessary to add this at this time.
Thank you. I'll make the motion to add this item to our agenda.
I have a motion from Councilman Baker and a second from Councilman Davis to add this item regarding Councilman McCoy in his absence to the agenda. I'll do roll call. Councilman Haig.
Aye.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Middleton, aye. So the motion passes 4-0. Okay. Mr. Jared, back to me now.
Yes, at this point, it would be appropriate for you to make any statement that you need to make, then take any brief public comment, and then have council discussion as with any item, and then a vote on the action.
Okay, thank you. So just to let the public know that Mr. McCoy has reached out, and it is with regret that he is dealing with a serious health issue. He has advised that he is being seen by a cardiologist and has not released him to leave the home for anything that might be, work related. His hopes is to come back to the city council within a week or so, but of course there are no guarantees. At this time, he wishes everybody, or wants to tell everybody that he thanks them, the council, the city of Yreka, for their support during his time of absence and recovery to his illness. You have all been supportive. I miss you all. I'm anxious to get back to work with the council on the issues that concern our great city. That's from Mr. McCoy. So it saddens me. I'm sorry, I'm a little sad. I miss him. I hope he hurries back. I hope he gets well, but he is facing some health challenges at this time. So I'll open up to comments from the public at this time for that. Just this, yeah. Since it was placed at the last minute. Okay. Councilman comments, and then as we discussed, I think Mr. McCoy's absence of the duration, correct, Mr. Jared?
Yes, at this point, you could discuss any time that you would like to place on that, or however you'd like to handle it.
Okay. He's hoping to return next week, as we know. There's no guarantees in life and medical stuff. I would request that we grant Councilman McCoy a granted absent for the rest of 2024 if need be. If need be. He's hoping to come back next week. Any comments? Question? Everybody's sitting there in silence. I'm already sitting there in silence. I know it's hard for me to read that too. Sorry. Should be more than I thought it was going to be. Oh, question from Councilman Ledbetter. Or,
No,
sorry,
City
Manager
manager,
Ledbetter.
yeah. I just so everybody is aware, just to make sure everyone's on the same page, is at this moment, Mr. McCoy needs permissions from this body to miss over 60 days. And at this moment, it sounds like you guys are discussing what that duration you would like to see granted. On the table, we have the rest of this calendar year.
That's what I propose. I mean, it's now we're going into our first meeting of October. That's only like four more meetings. Wait, 3 more meetings because we don't have one on November 5th. We come back November 15th. So it's about 3 or 4 meetings and left for the calendar year. Regular meetings.
Mr. Mayor, when does the 60 days start? And when does it end? Are we past the 60 days?
Next week, I believe. Can you restate that, Mr. Jared, for Councilman Davis?
Certainly. So it's Government Code Section 36513A, and it states, if a council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings for 60 days consecutively from the last regular meeting he or she attended, his office becomes vacant and shall be filled as any other vacancy, period. So reading of this is that it's all about regular council meetings. From the last regular council meeting that the council member attended, 60 days consecutively thereafter, if that member has missed all regular council meetings from the one after the last one they attended. And so what we have here was Mr. McCoy missing a meeting. I believe that his last meeting was it August 17th? Was that the date that identified?
I believe, yeah, it was the last meeting in August that Mr. McCoy was here for.
It would have been August 20th, I believe. And so then 60 days from that date, then puts it as October 19th. And so next council meeting, October 15th, although that falls within that 60-day period, he knows he will not be attending that. And therefore, going after that time frame, or believes he will not be attending that, going after that time frame jeopardizes him missing this window in which to ask for your permission to miss these council meetings within that 60-day period.
Everybody got that? Okay. I'm proposing, just in case he needs it, there's no guarantees right now. I mean, he's hopeful that we extend a courtesy to provide him in the absence and grant him through the end of miss the rest of the meetings through 2024 and expect him back in 2025. Should that be the case? He's told me back the next meeting. We don't know. But I would hope the council, if it was one of us, would give us the same courtesy should we be faced with a health issue as of this, and be compassionate and considerate that he doesn't lose his seat after missing so many meetings due to an illness and after putting in 6 years for the city of Yreka. So that's my request. Councilman Gay? Oh, sorry. I turned over here.
So I definitely see what you're saying. I would say that we bring it back before the end of the year. Just for the fact is, we have the four of us here as a council, and I think it would be appropriate that if we have to, just judging by what's going on, it sounds like he'll be back, but if some freak reason he can't come back, then we, as the council, should be our decision-making to move forward on something at that point in time. So instead of bombarding the next city council with that, so I think that what should happen before the end of the year.
Okay, so should I not be here and you not be here and a new council takes their seat? Well, we know you're not going to be here.
Right.
Maybe for me, possibility. It's probably gonna be December 17th that new council gets seated. So do you want to meet the meeting before that? Say we'll grant the wish for his absent through, is that December? I can't read.
December 3rd.
Is that December 3rd?
So bring it back to December 3rd.
December 3rd.
meeting. Okay.
But we're granting him an absence through December 3rd. If need be.
If need to be, yes, correct. If need to be.
Okay,
We would want to bring it back to December 3rd, correct?
Correct.
Yes, I'm okay with that, Mr. Mayor.
okay.
Is that a motion then?
I'll make the motion then.
Okay.
Bring it back December 3rd.
I have a motion from Councilman Kaeg to grant
I'll second that.
Council McCoy the absent through December 3rd,
Correct.
2024. And I have a second from Councilman Davis. I'll do roll call.
Mr. Mayor, if I could have a clarification on the
Okay.
motion. As I'm understanding the motion, it's made excusing of absence would be through the December 3rd meeting. So, meaning that you would bring it back on December 3rd, but permission would be given to allow for his absence on December 3rd as well.
Correct.
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 Yes.
Okay.
So he can miss December 3rd.
Can you just read the motion in its entirety for the minutes, please?
Councilman Kaeg?
Oh, sorry.
She wants you to read the motion for the county clerk, Ms. County Clerk.
Make a motion to bring it back December 3rd for his absence until that December 3rd and on that day. And if he's not being able to be present on that day, then we'll have another decision making at that point in time.
Okay,
Is that clear enough as mud?
is that clear enough?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I have I need to read it again, or am I okay? I'm okay? Okay.
Sure.
So I'll go back to roll call. So I had the motion from Councilman Kaeg, second from Councilman Davis. I'll do roll call. Councilman Kaeg?
Aye.
Councilman Davis?
Aye.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
And Mayor Middleton, aye. So the motion passes 4-0 for Mr. McCoy's absence, and we wish him well. We hope he gets back to a full recovery, and I look forward to having him back next to me. And as we know, it can be a little animated at times, but I've been.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you very much. So I'm going to conclude. It was important to hear that Government Code 36513 is important enough for us to have and added as an emergency agenda item. On October 1st, 2024, Drake Davis attended the regularly scheduled Yreka City Council meeting. Councilmember Davis missed the October 15th regularly scheduled Yreka City Council meeting, did not return to a regular Yreka City Council meeting until December 3rd, 2024, leaving a 62-day gap of no attendance between regularly scheduled Yreka City Council meetings. By definition of Government Code 36513, which says if a city council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings for 60 days consecutively from the last regular meeting he or she attended, his or her office becomes vacant and shall be filled as any other vacancy. By definition of Government Code 36513, Councilmember Drake Davis appears to be in violation and has abandoned his seat on the Yreka City Council. It is apparent that Councilmember Davis violated California Code 36513, and therefore his Yreka council seat is vacated. My recommendation for the city of Yreka to comply with California Government Code 36513 is that Davis's seat on the Yreka City Council has been vacated by his action of non-compliance with California Government Code 36513. And I'm going to yield back to the chair.
And Councilman McCoy. Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilman.
Not participate in this item right now. Because it directly relates to his duty. He can, of course, comment upon any matter, and speak on the matter, but to participate in this, I think could be raised by others as a conflict. And for that reason, my recommendation would be that he not participate in item 11E.
Okay. So if you can explain what it means, is that he just,
Speaking microphone, Mayor Pro Tem asked, what does that mean? What I'm meaning by that is I'm recommending to Mr. Davis that he step down from the dais.
okay,
And if he wishes to speak on this item, that he speak at the podium when that time is come.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, at this time, we'll ask Mr. Councilman Davis to step to the audience as we discuss 11E. Yep.
But you don't get the command. You have to-
Oh, I just said, your recommendation is, oh, I thought you were telling him to do that. He's recommending you go to the audience and vacate the diocese.
You don't have to.
Oh, careful.
Tried to mow me over.
Battery's dying. Okay, so now I'll open up to council members for comments or questions. Anybody for questions?
I have some questions.
Okay,
Thanks.
Councilman Baker.
Mr. Jared, what is considered good cause under this government code section? Good cause for being absent?
I don't believe that it says that. That's left up to the discretion of the city council. I think there's a couple of things though we need to put into context. A lot was said about what was going on, and my voice was on the screen a lot there. I think if I could make a couple of statements about that and put into context what I said there. And since it was being talked about, my recollection is that I don't know when Mayor Pro Tem McCoy had a health incident. But my recollection is that we had to have it on the agenda that night because the 60-day period referenced in 36-513A would expire before the next council meeting. What the staff report leaves out, what any comment that's happened to date so far has left out is 36-513B. And I think we need to put that on the table to make sure what is being said. I did not reference that, in the snippet that was, talked about before, or just shown. 36.5.13B states notwithstanding subdivision A. Subdivision A, I'm stop quoting now. Subdivision A says, quote, if a city council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings for 60 days consecutively from the last regular meeting he or she attended, his or her office becomes vacant and shall be filled as any other vacancy, period, unquote. B then says, B, quote, notwithstanding subdivision A, if a city council meets monthly or less frequently than monthly, and a city council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings for 70 consecutive days from the last regular council meeting he or she attended, his or her office becomes vacant and shall be filled as any other vacancy, period, unquote. So, all you heard me talking about on the video that was just showing was a 60-day rule. That's a general rule. That was what was really before us at that time on a very fast moving, approaching. It had to be put on that night or 60-day period would lapse. It was not something that I went to great length to analyze all of the details of Mr. McCoy's illness. I did not have any contact with Mr. McCoy asking or about when he would be back. I don't know that I had contact with anyone other than maybe a staff member or two about finding out about those issues. But what I did know was that if the 60-day rule was in effect, it could be lapsing before that next council meeting. And so that's why it was important, number one, to put it on as an emergency item, which had come up after the posting, meaning the lapse had happened or was about to happen, and it needed immediate action before the next meeting. And both of those things were triggered. That's what was being discussed. That's why it was put on. And that's why if the 60-day rule were to be applicable, it would have expired. So it was encouraged to, if you wanted to grant the request that he had made, to put it on. To answer your question, so just there's the 60-day rule, there's the 70-day rule. To answer your question, what is good cause? It's not stated under 53 or 63, I'm sorry, 36513 A or B or anywhere else there.
So how would good cause be established?
My mouth was running dry. So what is established is by case law saying the city council are the ones that make the determination whether or not the vacancy occurs and whether to proceed forward after that. Again, I've not been asked by this council to analyze this, to give an official opinion, to write it all out, to research it all. But what I do know about this, and having researched this a bit, is that we have 63513 A and B. We have section 803, the civil code dealing with quo warranto cases to prevent frivolous lawsuits against council members, where the attorney general then steps in and issues an opinion on whether or not the person has vacated their position, and then a trial on that matter in Superior Court. But the threshold matter is by this council determining, this is under case law, determining whether or not the vacancy applies and whether or has occurred, and whether or not there has been a missed meeting within the appropriate period. And what complicates the matter here is that there was meeting of less than meeting monthly or less frequently during that period of time. There was a canceled meeting. And so during the month of November, there was just meeting monthly at regularly scheduled meetings. So that's what applies here. It is up to this council to make the determination, has a vacancy occurred? Period. That's just, let me, to answer what might be the next question. How does this council vote? You would, then vote amongst yourselves. It's a majority vote, so it would take 3 affirmative votes to determine that, yes, there has been a vacancy for longer than, the appropriate period of time.
So also this government code section refers to absent without permission.
Correct.
So how does one obtain permission?
One would ask for permission. And that's what happened with Mr. McCoy's situation. I don't believe he was aware of the situation. I believe he was made aware of the situation and then requested that permission be granted, and it was made on very short order after the posting of the agenda.
I have to think about how to phrase my next question. So
Let me add one more thing. The issue of permission, it's some cities do have council procedures for asking permission or for requiring when that permission would be granted, when it would not be granted, things of that nature. To my knowledge, well, actually, as I've looked through your policies and procedures and your codes, you don't have that type of process. And so there is none. And so, yeah, I don't know how one would act.
thank you for bringing that up. Because until this became an issue, I wasn't aware of it, which and then I went and read all of the ordinances that have to do with city council for the city of Yreka, as well as the code of conduct. And I couldn't find any kind of procedures about who do we notify when we're not going to be at a meeting? Is it considered an excused absence, an unexcused absence? And I just know that for the last 2 years, I've kind of just been shooting in the dark. And I think most of the time I've been good about at least letting the city manager know that I'm not going to be at a meeting. But I was never instructed on what to do. And I think that it's really important that the council consider coming up with some guidelines and procedures on exactly that. And I think that's all of the questions that I have for now.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Anybody else? Councilman McCoy?
Yeah, this is Councilman McCoy. I would like to remind the council, and I would like to remind city attorney that none of this motion is about me. This is about Councilman Davis. That's where we should be talking. And the only reason that I shared the footage was because of the fact that I knew you had gone through and voted on it. And at that time, it was very, very important to you, to our city attorney to do that. So we need to focus on the one thing that's on here, and that is the vacation of a seat. And my absence, other than Mr. Jared being able to see his words and see exactly what he said, my absence has no bearing on this. Thank you.
For us, try too. Thank you, Councilman McCoy.
If I could just say,
Oh.
I do agree with Mr. McCoy that his absence so that's, has no bearing on this current issue. In fact, in seeing what I said before and recalling what the rather frantic, nature we were faced with right then, it was to very quickly and simply put it on the agenda because I recognized that, it was facing a situation where he could be inadvertently vacating his seat by not doing anything. And I don't think that he was aware of it. I don't think the rest of the council, when the people that I was talking to about it, it didn't sound like this issue had been discussed about vacancies through this code section or the process for requesting it. And that's my recollection about what was going on at the time. And to the extent that I said there was a 60-day rule, there is a 60-day rule. Was that applicable then? I don't know that it was the only rule that was applicable then. It's not my opinion that the 60-day rule is applicable in this situation. I think the 70-day rule is applicable in this situation. I think 36.513B is applicable because of the canceled meetings. You met less than monthly on a regular basis during that time period. And so that's my opinion on that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Jared. Okay. Like I said, we've been discussing it for a long time now, and when we did look at when I looked at the meetings, and I guess we would have to have discussion tonight whether we have it further investigated and look, because the meetings I do look at is the meeting 60 days were missed from 2 regular meetings, is looking back at the meetings. And we had a special meeting that Mr. Davis had showed up for, but we did not have a quorum. He stated that while he was gone previously, he had fallen ill and wasn't going to stay, but we did not have a meeting at that point because we did not have a quorum. And so we just stayed and had a discussion, but no meeting. But when I look at the videos, and like I said, there's a lot of videos, a lot of going back and looking at, there was 2 regular meetings missed, and it was 62 days from those regular meetings is what I was looking at, because it is a very serious issue. I wanted to make sure we had the facts, and in fact, it was 62 days from the regular scheduled meetings. Reviewed them, and like I said, it's a very serious issue. And when I looked at it, studying other cities, what they have done, there's been cases. One case, and I can share it down the road. One lady, she wrote the council to saying that she was on maternity leave and was requesting the city council grant her wish of being gone an excessive amount, because her maternity leave and when she was going to be due back was going to be over that amount of time. So she wrote the council. It was on the agenda. The agenda approved it just in writing, just kind of like we did with Councilman McCoy. For the most part, since like I said, it's not written down, but it was just common sense, or common courtesy, I should say common sense. A council member being absent was to notify the mayor. And if the mayor can't get a hold of the mayor pro tem or the city manager that, hey, I'm going to be absent. I know Councilman Baker has notified me a couple times when she had her injury that she wasn't going to be available one time, and the other time she was going to be on Zoom, but she did reach out that she was going to be gone. So you did reach out to me saying I wasn't going to be attending the meeting. So Mr. Keggs reached out to me before as being mayor. Anyways, there has been times I've known we council members were going to be absent. And that's just been always the courtesy, is to notify the chair of an absent, if they're going to be absent. So that's what, I've been, like I said, researching. It's a difficult thing, but watching it, I And I could be wrong, but I think it has to be researched so we don't make any decisions. But as I look at it, it was 62 days of absence from regular meetings. The one meeting didn't count. And since we meet twice a month and not once a month, the 70-day didn't apply. It's from what I understand. But so yeah, it's a very complex issue. And I did not going back to Mr. Jared, I didn't know when he had contacted me and said, I understand, there was going to be a statement made. Did you know this law exists? And so then I said, oh, no, I didn't know any law exists that, a council member could lose their seat.
You're talking about when-
Oh, yeah, when you call me. So I wasn't aware when you're saying no one knew the law, that we hadn't addressed this. So yeah, you're right. No one had known about the law until you brought it up to me saying, there's law exists that if anybody misses without getting permission, and it didn't matter why, it was either sick or just because they didn't feel like coming or vacation or what have you. I said, oh, I didn't realize anybody, you could get removed. What I understood is that the only time you can be removed if you got recalled because you're elected official. And that's when he stated, no, there's this law that exists that you do have to get permission to miss X amount of days. So that's when I did learn about it. So it was, yeah, shocking, but it is a very clear law. It's probably the most pretty direct to the point law I've ever seen written from the state of California. Just like pretty, it's not 4 pages long is what I'm trying to say. It's like very simple, written where anybody can understand it, because most time you're like, what? I don't understand all these points without having an attorney look at it and advise, because it was very clearly, understandable. So with that, I don't have any more comments, but any other council members before I go out to public comment? Okay, so I will go to public comment. Battery's gonna die, so I'll shut this off. Oops.
Lorenzo Love. California Government Code 36513 is pretty clear, as Mayor Middleton said. It's there's not much to debate about what the law means. Yreka City Council meets twice a month. One council meeting does not change that. It meets twice a month. So this 70-day time period is just a distraction. I don't know why some of you think at this little conspiracy to ignore state law, it's going to end well for you. This is going to go to the state's attorney. And the state's attorney is going to enforce state law. I don't know why that is hard to understand. And you are obligated, you took an oath, you swore to obey the laws of the state of California. If you're vacating that oath, you should just leave. You don't have any business here. Obey the law of the state of California. Period.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Basically, what I asked Jason to hand out is a copy of what I'm going to say this evening, so I know that it'll be a public record in case people can't understand it on the film. My name is Louise Gliotto, and I live in Yreka. California Government Code section, and I'm sure y'all have it memorized by now, 36513 does not define the meaning of the phrase absent without permission. In fact, the current city code doesn't even address or mention absence from the city council meeting. Does the city currently have a policy anywhere for excusing absence? If a policy exists, was it communicated verbally or in print at any time to the council members? Who in the city or council has a discretion to accept or deny permission for an absence? The three fairly new council members do not remember that absences were ever discussed in the city orientation. At a Sacramento training for new council members, absences were not discussed, nor was the existence of the California Code 36513. Is hospitalization with a heart attack or hospitalization with pneumonia excusable for missing a meeting? Are council members permitted to take vacations? Any reasonable person would say yes. The city has a code of conduct which is 23 years old. I find it hard to believe and disturbing that this very important issue was never addressed in all those years. Both council member McCoy and Davis have been treated unequally and unjustly. They were left guessing on how to handle their unforeseen life-threatening emergencies. In fairness and empathy, I urge you not to go forward with removing Councilman Davis from his seat. It will only harm the council and the community and further divide us. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration. May God guide you in your decision. Respectfully, Louise Gliotto. Thank you.
Getting in the wrong place in line. So listening to that tape was very interesting. That's Diane Collier, live in the city of Yreka. There was a cry to be compassionate and considerate, and those are quotes, and to consider the service when Mr. McCoy was out. And I'm just wondering how it kind of came up when he was out, what staff member brought that up. But for some reason now the tables have turned, and the only thing you're listening to is not compassion. It's not consideration. You want to hear what you want to hear. You only want to take the one piece of advice from the attorney that suits your agenda. And this is really telling, is what it is. It's really kind of upsetting. And I would like to throw some numbers out for consideration. Our last election, had the votes not been split by so many good people that we all support, the total for one person, had we had one person we needed to vote for, and should that come up by, we have means as citizens to bring things up that we, or get rid of things we don't like. That's 3,572 votes in our favor. I just want to throw those numbers out for consideration. And Mr. Davis was clearly fighting for his life. You're talking 2 days, and the attorney has given you a 70-day rule to consider, but yet no. Oh, no. You are pushing for what you want to suit your needs, to suit what you want, so you can point somebody else on your side who will vote with you. That's what's happening here.
Oh, he was gone.
Steve Radford. Yeah, it's my observation that this council has been pretty flaky for the last several years, and that our city and our way of living and life altogether, as far as citizens together, we've had a pretty rough time. So I would just say, let this thing be a lesson learned, and let's carry on as brotherhood and neighborhood to each other, with as much respect and love as we can give to our community, because that's really what we need really bad. Our community is falling apart. We got homeless, big problems that I'm very much aware of now that I've gone on that hill. It's affected me tremendously. I would rather see us start acting from our hearts and our faith than all this squabbling between each other. It sounds a little political. And I think also the attorney brought up the fact of the 70-day rule and a council meeting that was canceled. So that it applies to me that it's very simple. The 7-day rule comes into effect. But regardless of all that, I think we need to get over all this stuff of squabbling with each other and start getting it together and get this community, this county strong again. We're falling apart and enough is enough. Let's take it as a learning lesson and just carry on. Thank you.
I would like to add my seconds. My name is Jan Osborne. I live in Yreka. My seconds to the previous speakers here, except the first or second one, Mr. Love. I have been listening to this discussion, and I'm being polite when I say discussion, since December. There's something going on other than, oh, we must follow this law and do this. But I'm not here to judge. I am here to ask that the council members, as you just make your decision on this issue, because from what Mr. Jared said, it's something that the council can determine, that you use the number one rule in life, the golden rule. Do as you would be done by. Or the corollary, love thy neighbor as thyself. Yes, there are rules. Life is full of them. Traffic rules, school rules, all kinds of rules. We have the ability here tonight to keep this community closer. I think that for me, I want Drake Davis to remain on the council. I think he has been a valuable addition. And this process that you're trying to do to remove him is one more wedge between us all. In closing, please let the better angels of your nature guide your decision-making. Thank you.
Val Mariatri. I called the FPPC, Fair Political Practices Commission, and asked them about this. They said that the attorney, it was his job. He was hired to do his job. His job is to remove any council member who violates the law because it is a California law. It's a code. It's a law. They said that if he read in the law as being A, then that is what the law was for every one of the council members. B did not come into anything at all, and that night it didn't, and it does not because we meet twice a month. Council meetings are not in this law. Special meetings are not in this law. This law goes for every regular meeting, and you heard the attorney stress that multiple times. Ms. Baker asked for an actual timeline. He gave it from the last meeting attended October 1st to the next meeting, December 3rd. 62 days fell. He was sick at the beginning. Yes, he was. Glad he's better. Then he went to Mexico and then Montana. It doesn't matter where he went. The point is, you ask any judge, ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law. The law is the law. 62 days. That seat's vacant. And it's vacant according to the FPPC because the law was read in Section A of the 36513. That's what was written into it. That's what we went by for every person here, not 70 days. And when I asked on the 61st day, how many days does Drake Davis get? The city manager asked the attorney, and the attorney said, oh, Drake gets 70. No, he doesn't. That is a conflict of interest right there. And according to the FPPC, they told me to call the attorney general and make a complaint because that is pure and simple conflict of interest when he read in the law. Thank you. Stan, go forward.
Jason Williams, Yreka. I'm curious because it doesn't say anything about canceled meetings and what the day count was for the November 5th.
Yep. Go to the diocese, Mr. Davis. Oh, okay. No problem.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Go ahead and state your name so they hear it. They know you, but state your name for the record.
my name's Drake Davis. I'm a citizen of the city of Yreka.
Well, you're not a citizen.
Um, I believe that I'm being unjustly accused. And section 36513 does have two parts for a reason. And I believe that the way it is for me, it's part of that is why B is available. I'd like to kind of go over a couple of things. I was sick and I missed the last meeting in October. And then when you called the special meeting to evaluate our city administrator, I attended. And I explained to you, Ms. Baker, at that time, Councilman Kaag, and our city administrator, the extent of my sickness. Okay. And you knew about that. And I asked to leave the meeting because I was still convalescing. And you said, okay. I asked if you wanted me to stay. You said, no, it's not necessary. So you were apprised of that particular absentee. The 5th, as a council, we decided not to meet. So, and that was the election day. We made that decision. And then when it came to the last meeting in November, regular scheduled, I was on a family vacation. And I admit to that just fine and dandy. Now, 3651B talks about, it says, notwithstanding subdivision A, and we've heard that quoted many times, If a city council meets monthly or less frequently than monthly, a city council member is absent without permission from all regular city council meetings for 70 days consecutively from the last regular meeting he or she attended, his or her office becomes vacant and shall be filled as any other vacancy. And I firmly believe, Mr. Mayor, that points directly at myself, and that's the where I should be judged. The other part that I want to talk about is HIPAA. HIPAA is the protection of people's medical records. They're private and they're precious. Mr. McCoy didn't need to disclose his medical condition. And matter of fact, it's against the law to dissolve somebody's membership because of medical conditions. And so when you were considering him for this 36513A, I was pretty much wondering why we were doing that. Even though I seconded the motion and asked about the timeline on that, I was concerned that Mr. McCoy was being not justly judged in that case. And that is the reason, medical conditions for myself. And if that is going to be part of the decisions and that this council makes, you really are opening yourself up to some lawsuits. So I really do believe that you should not go in that direction, and you should consider 36513B in my case. And if you want to know the truth, this is really stressful. I haven't slept for a couple of nights. It bothers me. I really like being a council member. I enjoy being involved. And I do think that we have made some strides on the Greenway. I think we've made some strides in Greenhorn Park. And I do think I'd like to stay involved in that as a city council member. So,
okay.
Thank you for listening to my.
Okay. Right. Any other public comment? Okay, I'll come back to the council real fast and then we'll go for discussion. Is at no time I was aware of where Mr. Davis was. If you go back to the meetings, I even said there Mr. Davis is absent. No one knew where he was at. I did not know about his health issues until he came that day. I did not question why he was gone. I did not even know where he was at. He was just gone. So I want the record to show that of being falsely accused. I was never made aware of what he was doing, where he was at, if he was sick or what he was not. It was under Councilman McCoy's decision because rumors were flying around town asking about his health. Mr. McCoy chose to make the statement, and that's up to him. I'm very aware of HIPAA and very aware, obviously, of the cases I've read of people getting absent or requesting absence, like the lady I read that requested from, I forget what the city is, for her maternity leave. She told the council that her maternity leave was going to exceed those days. So I never questioned anybody's absence. It was rumors going around, people coming up to a lot of council members, a lot of people in town asking about Mr. McCoy, because we know it's a small town and people talk. And at no time I ever asked him to make a statement. It was his choice. So I want the record to be clear that he made the decision. I never knew about Mr. Davis, Councilman Davis, where he was at, where his absence was. I announced at the diocese that I said no, Councilman Davis tonight. Everybody shook their head no. I never was made aware. No one said anything. No council member sitting at the table at the time said anything about him being where he was at or absent or hearing about it. So I want the record to be clear because I'm being falsely accused of me knowing because I did not know. The only time he disclosed he was sick is when he did come for our meeting. That was already going to be canceled because or be canceled because of the lack of quorum from the other council members not meeting it for an evaluation. He said he's sick. He didn't feel good. Go home. I was surprised he even came. I said, no, I didn't know you were sick. So I did not know anything. So I'm not going to be falsely accused of knowing people's condition or where they're at because I was not made aware. So I want that for the record. And like I said, the law's a law. It applies to me. If I was to be going missing in action, I'd be brought right here, before this table. I know I would. And that goes for anybody. As the law is written, we investigate it. It's nothing personal, but I know if I was to miss any of these meetings, I would be called out directly to be answering questions where I've been or why I'm gone, or, I know I would. And that's just the way it is. We follow laws every day, like you said, and it applies to all of us here. And so that's what I have to say. So any other statements or questions after? I know we went through a lot, and I know you had a couple at the time. Yes. We'll go to Mr. Jared, then come back. Hold that thought.
If I could just make a statement in regard to some of the statements about me. I first off don't know of any basis for the FPPC to suggest that I am somehow the removal agent. I am not the decider of that. It's very clear under the law that I am an advisor of legal issues and that you make the decision on vacancies. And there is a process under civil code for the court to get involved. So I don't know where it's coming from. No one, apparently someone reached out to the FPPC, but no one has included me on that. There's been, some discussions I think you made reference to regarding other cases and things like that. I have not been made aware of that. They're not mentioned in the staff report presented, but it's very clear. I am not the one that tells Mr. Davis he is vacated it, and I do not make that decision. That is yours.
Okay.
Second, I believe it's well outside of the FPPC's purview to do any of that and give advice on that. They give advice on the Political Reform Act. And I'm not aware that this is part of the Political Reform Act at all. All of the AG opinions that I've read on this, there are only about 3, and the case law surrounding this, which I think there's only 1 or 2, none of that talks about the FPPC. I just want that to be said, because a lot of people can say things at the podium and then don't have to prove that up. I just want you to know my view on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go back to Councilman Baker. Go back to you.
So, excuse me, just.
Everybody's throats.
As I clear my throat into the microphone and wake everybody up. So I do have some thoughts that I would like to share with the council. Is that to me, this is not cut and dried because we have an issue where we had a meeting that was canceled. And my memory of our special meeting on October 23rd, was that Councilman Davis, myself, and Mayor Middleton were present. We opened the meeting and Councilman Davis explained his medical condition and that he wanted to leave. At that point in time, he left and we adjourned the meeting due to a lack of a quorum. It was mentioned here that it is courtesy to notify the mayor when we're going to be absent, but that's stated no place in writing. And I was never, ever given any direction on that. And I think that that's an important point that we probably need to take further action on at some point in time. The other thing that gives me pause to really consider this issue is that Mr. Davis was, by his own admission, under medical care, as well as the fact that we're looking at 62 days. We're not looking at 120 days, 62 days, 2 days over the limit. And again, during that time frame, there was a meeting that was canceled. I would just also like to add, although it's not directly related, but it was brought up this evening about representation of the Fair Political Practices Commission and statements that they've made. I worked for over 20 years closely with the Fair Political Practices Commission, and they have absolute rules that they put out. They have absolute laws that they put out. And then they give the power to county elections officials to follow those rules or not based on individual circumstances. And I think that we owe Mr. Davis that same respect and consideration. This is not a cut and dry, I'm just gone. There were mitigating factors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Baker. Any other comments before I wrap up?
Never did anybody up here say that Mr. Davis was out for any medical conditions. You're the first one to say it. He's the first one. You're the second one that I've heard it from. Mr. Davis, were you on vacation at the sometime during that time in Mexico?
No comments from the
Can you come
audience.
down? Yeah. Were you on vacation during part of that 62 days in Mexico, sir? Okay. Well, I just told somebody out here when I had a medical appointment yesterday and I didn't return their call. I said, it's none of your business too. And they said, it is my business. So there you go. There you go. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, sir. I hear you. There are a lot of people think that stuff is their business when they have no business being in it and they have no idea what's going on. And then during that 62-day period, were you also in Montana for a vacation near the end of that?
Yes.
Okay. So in essence, you were on two different vacations during that time. Is it safe for me to say that?
We went to 2 different places. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have a son and 2 granddaughters in Montana.
You have a wonderful son in Montana. I watched your kids grow up. Yeah, he's a great guy. Under medical care or not, which nobody here that I know of, unless they want to speak up, has mentioned that to Mr. Davis. I also was not aware that I was under medical care. We're not talking about me, but I'm going to do a little bit more because Mr. Jared needed to bring it up after he saw himself up there on the screen. And so, no, the reason I am not going anywhere near medical care, that is Mr. Davis's, Councilman Davis's own private thing. But 36513A is created for those government entities that meet more than once a month. And 36153B, if you read it, is for government entities that meet once a month or less. So that's why they give the 10-day extension on that from 60 to 70 days. Now, in my speaking with the FPPC, they recommended, and I did make calls to the Attorney General and to the District Attorney's Office. You work for the District Attorney, don't you? You're an investigator for him, Councilman? Yeah. And so they recommended that, and I'm going to assume that they figured either the DA or the Attorney General would probably interpret it. However they interpret it, I don't know. Because I haven't got a response from the DA yet, but it's only been about 4 days. But the idea of this is not to punish anybody. The idea is that we are a nation of laws. And it's unfortunate that somebody like Mr. Davis gets caught up in it, but we are a nation of laws. We don't take time off for vacations typically. We don't. My first 3 years on this panel, we did not cancel a meeting except for perhaps the fair 1 year. So basically, I'm going to stand by 36513. It is a law. We're a nation and a city that lives by the rule of the law. If people started to take the law in their own hands in your neighborhood, you probably, if you live in Yreka, you'd probably be calling Mr. Gilman up there, and we'd be wagging our tongues at him. So it is unfortunate that this is happening, but 36513 does call for the council or the chair to vacate the council member. So that is where I am going to stay at this point in time.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. I think this won't get resolved tonight. So what I would like to recommend before I make my decision of the removal of Mr. Davis or not, like I said, I want to give him fair. It's nothing personal. It's the law being broken, and whether or not people have personal opinions, but to tell us to break the law when, it's good to break the law here, but it's not good to break the law in other sections. So what I would recommend is immediately have it reviewed by Mr. Jared, myself, or another attorney in your office, and Mr. also our city manager, where we can all watch the videos together, interpret the law, because it seems like there's been a lot of different opinions, different dates thrown out there. I feel it needs to be this. It needs the attention that I think, as I believe it was Ms. Osborne said, since December it was brought up, and it hasn't been taken care of. And I'm sorry if I'm under the wrong impression, but I thought you were said I'll get back to you regarding that issue, to me and to the city manager. You were going to look into it, and it was brought up. So if I misunderstood that, then it's my fault. I was waiting for you to come up with a recommendation of looking at it. I was under the impression that you looked at all the videos, but no opinion. So I don't know if we should have another attorney in your office look at it, separate yourself from the issue, have you look at it, or have some opinion. But I think we need to really look into it before I make any decision, so I know exactly what is before us how it's interpreted, if we're interpreting it's the A or the two sections of it of the issue and but make this a priority. I think it needs to come back to us, but I'm asking for a full like investigation from your attorney looking at it. And if the attorney general needs to get involved, maybe the attorney general needs to get involved and make the decision and tell us what we need to do or if any violation was um, committed. So that would be my recommendation is to have it brought back next meeting or at a special meeting as soon as it's can be found out. But I don't want to make a decision tonight because it seems like there's conflicting information of what videos or what the dates we've looked at, what I've seen, what you maybe have looked at, but with due process and all fairness to Mr. Davis, so that we just get it done with. But I would like to have it come back next meeting or before a special meeting if possible, so we can get this taken care of and have you really think about it. If you want to have another attorney handle it in your office, separate yourself from it, or if we need to submit it to the attorney general, but it's getting late. We have other business to take care of, but I would like it to come back ASAP so I can make my decision if a decision needs to be made. All right, that's
I'm, Mr. Chairman,
Councilman McCoy? Yes.
I would ask that, yes, we have a third-party attorney come in that is not affiliated with Cole Antonio, Highsmith and Watley. I would move that.
Hold on one second. Can we not have conversations in the audience, please? I cannot hear when the other council member is speaking. We have rules of the meeting and I cannot hear when other people are talking. So please call to order. Thank you.
I would move that we get a third party involved, a third party lawyer, excuse me, from another company at this point in time so that we can get a very, very subjective view. I think that's also fair to Mr. Davis. In response to that also, since we can't make I'm going to say the thing everybody's going to hate, since we can't make a decision tonight, there really is no reason continuing with voting on these things because we don't know that if depending on what we hear from another attorney or from the AG or whoever from their office, we don't know if past decisions we voted on are valid or not. So I would recommend that we, at this point in time, adjourn the meeting. And then I would ask for also for a special closed session as soon as possible as we can get that, Mr. City Manager, in order to review our contract with Cole, Antonio, Highsmith, and Watley. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I guess that's my concern as well. If someone is under not really an investigation, but under review, is their voting seats, when it said they're just supposed to be vacated, but we're allowing to vote. And it is findings that council member is removed. Is everything that they voted on after this was brought up, is it removed? Or are they still allowed to sit here and vote? That's my concern is there's a law that possibly is broken, but do we continue allowing the voting member, or is there a leave of absence he has to take from voting is what I guess I don't know. Is Mr. Jared, you can answer.
Well, it sounded like you were leaning towards making a statement regarding where this should go. Then Councilmember McCoy made a motion that it sounds to me like it had three parts. Moved to have a third party review, moved to adjourn tonight, and moved to have a special meeting to review my contract.
I didn't make a motion for a special meeting. I just asked the city.
So I don't know where all that stands.
again, I'm going to ask one more time to not have any conversations or yell out from the audience. Thank you. Um, okay. Like I said, this is all, about the law. And if it was broken, it doesn't matter. We're all getting on if he was sick, if somebody was sick or if they weren't or this and that. It's just a law. It doesn't even matter why you're gone. If I was gone for 60 days, I had to stay in Hawaii, then or whatever, then the same thing applies. It doesn't matter. No one cares. They said, oh, Councilman Middleton missed his time or whatever, and he's gone, so that's what it's about. Isn't no reason has to be given. It's just approval is what it is. Everybody's kind of getting off the point of approval and reasons if someone's sick or if they're not. It doesn't matter at that point. It's just very clear. So um, at this point, like I said, I really think, in all fairness, it needs to be reviewed heavily, like priority from an attorney, but maybe an attorney that doesn't have in the same firm that doesn't have the connection. And, that's not a conflict of interest to really look at it and look at the videos. Um, but maybe that's a discussion I don't know we have to have, but we're going on 8:46. But I think it's a very important issue, whether he stays or not. And it's a very hard decision for me to make. And I don't want to, you know, be in in the wrong. I want to make sure it's right and that Mr. Davis, Councilman Davis, has his fair review of everything before I make that decision that his seat is vacated. But it just seems like there's been opinions given and just stuff all over regarding the law. And we need a clear understanding by looking when the meeting. I'm asking that we have a clear review, or you guide us that, maybe another attorney would be suitable to review this, or the DA has to review this, and this is what we have, or so we understand, because it's a hard decision. It's not personal. Mr. Davis has sat here for 3.5 years, with me. And you don't want to, don't have to want to do that. But I guess that's what I would like to see happen immediately, is let's work on it and bring it back with a legal recommendation, and whether it go forward to the DA's or the Attorney General, or we have to ask the Attorney General to look at it. I don't know what the process is, and that's what we look at, you or your law firm or somebody in the law firm who will look at it without any personal bias on the issue. So that's what I would ask from you, Mr. Jarrett, is it be a priority, or you pass it along and let us really take the time and not, well, rush it, but not rush into making the decision regarding the fate of his seat, per the law. Thank you.
What I'm not understanding is that a motion you're making?
Well, yeah.
When giving me that direction in order to have that, or I think it was presented tonight in order to move this along. I think there's enough here to move along. It sounded like I thought was clearly a motion from Mr. Floyd, and now I'm not understanding if this is another motion, or if you're just asking me to volunteer to bring back information that you now are asking for, or what? I'll do whatever the council wants me to do. But I think I've been very clear on my interpretation of this because there was the vacancy. I'm sorry, because there was the canceled meeting on November 5th. And the council made that so that if there was one meeting that month, that then part B kicks in and a 70-day period is applicable for this time span, which was unique and different from the time period in which Mr. McCoy was an issue that I was aware of at the time. The very short time frame in which to react in that, to put it on the agenda so that there would not be a lapse in his situation. But it is my opinion that because of the canceled meeting on November 5th, that that part B with the 70 days kicks in, and I don't think that it's disputed that 62 days between appearances was the time frame, but that the 70 days that is the threshold in this situation is what applies. I think there's enough for the council to act on that.
But earlier you said that weren't asked to make a professional opinion on it, but now are you willing to make it? Like I said, I'm very uncomfortable with there was some backdoor conversations. There's different things have gone on where this has been taken too long. So I think it needs to be reviewed again. I think there was an opinion made that why it's been delayed. And I think we need to have it reviewed again before we make any decisions. And that's what I ask of the council, that we move on and bring it back ASAP to be reviewed, to have the videos reviewed, his absence, and to really look at the law, because we're going nowhere. You want to Councilman
I
McCoy?
just wanted to question you because I know, Mr. Jared, you're sharing that if it was 70 days, that applies, but it says notwithstanding such a view. Replying back, if a city council meets monthly or less frequently, well, we don't, we meet twice a month, we have 2 regular meetings. So that would then say that the 60 days would be affected as far as what I mean. The 70 days, which I understand what you're saying, would happen if, say, we were some sort of government, once a month or even diamond. So, you're interpreting it differently. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm interpreting it that different than what way you're choosing to interpret.
Okay, but I'm not interpreting, I'm reading word for word. That's what I'm saying. I'm reading it word for word, and when you read it word for word, I don't know how you can come up with anything other than that, unless, of course, it's open interpretation. And I know that all laws are open to interpretation.
Did you have more than one regular meeting in November? That's what it comes down to. No, you did not. You had one regular meeting in November. You met monthly in November.
Yeah, no, it says,
That's my
yeah, that's your interpretation. Okay, thank you. Thanks. My motion's still out there to call the meeting and to get an independent third litigant.
Again, you know what? I'm gonna adjourn the meeting. I've asked several times that nobody talk in the audience. I think it's been disruptive, and I think we need to bring the whole meeting back. I'm gonna adjourn the meeting just because of the behavior tonight in the audience. A motion to adjourn, yes.
I'll second that motion.
Council, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting and bring this meeting back and bring
More clarity.
more clarity because it's going nowhere and disruptive. I have a motion by myself and then a second by Councilman McCoy.
That motion, would involve, Councilmember Davis
Okay, so you want me to bring it back?
with that motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now you, okay.
Good deal.
Come on back. Okay. So the motion is to adjourn the meeting. Now that's 8:55 PM and we have not come to a resolution regarding anything really. And I have a motion to adjourn the meeting and bring it back to a future meeting and a second from Councilman McCoy. I'll do roll call. Councilman Claire,
No.
Councilman Davis,
You know, I have to apologize. Could you repeat the motion?
being's weird. I'm uncomfortable.
That's a basis. That's
Anyways.
not the motion. The motion
Okay,
is
thank you.
moving
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
I'm moving to adjourn the meeting to bring it back for further review and adjourn the meeting tonight.
Adjourn the meeting.
Yes,
And when are we bringing it back?
I don't think we've discussed it yet.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the only motion that Councilmember Drake can vote on is yes or no, do we adjourn the meeting at this moment? The reason for it, he cannot participate in.
Okay. So it's just this one, correct?
It's simply the question,
Can't
Do we-
answer his question.
your motion was to adjourn.
Okay.
He gets to participate in whether or not to adjourn and not proceed on anything else on the agenda that remains on the agenda this evening. All he gets to participate. Everything else, in relation to this 11E item that you were previously discussing, you're no longer discussing 11E. You're discussing moving to adjourn the rest of the agenda right now.
Okay. All right.
I vote no.
Councilman Baker,
I'm voting no because we have a lot of city business to take care of.
Councilman McCoy,
I'm voting yes because we are, we're not clear on where we're going with this and we're breaking the law. So until we get clarity, yeah, it's not, we're not doing the city business. We're doing our own dirty work.
and I vote no as well. As like I said, there was no professional opinion given. I'm voting no. That we adjourn, but it looks like it fails. So do we stick on 11E or do we go back? I don't. Now you said he doesn't vote on anything else, correct?
Sorry.
You said he votes on nothing else, correct? Oh, I'm sorry.
11E,
Okay.
a motion to adjourn. Motion has failed. You're still on item
11E. Okay.
Participating in that item, you should step down for the dais.
Okay.
And you should finish up your item 11E.
Okay. Okay. We'll go back to 11E. Well, I guess if we're going to be stuck here, because I don't think we're going to resolve this. We have staff in the audience and other people presenting that probably want to go home. Then I guess I can make a motion to move 11E at the end of if they want to leave, at the end of the meeting, so we can let these fine people, our employees that are sitting here waiting to present, get the business, other city business done, because we're at a standstill, I think, on 11E. So my recommendation is that we move 11E back to the last agenda item and go back to 11A, B, C, and D. So that's my motion on the table.
Oh.
I'm asking, wait. So we can let these fine folks also and get on with city business. That's important as well. Like this, not like this is important as well. But we have staff sitting here out for hours.
Point of clarity.
Okay. Sure.
So, Mr. Jared, as we continue with this meeting tonight, are we seated with 5 full voting members or do we have 4 voting members? Simple question.
5 members on the city council.
Do we have 5 voting members tonight or do we have 4? That's what I'm asking you. I know we have 5 on the city council. Do we have 5 voting members or 4?
5. You've not.
Thank you very much.
By city council.
Thank you, sir.
So I have the motion to motion by me and then a second from Council McCoy to bring.
I also have a motion that we continue this item, which is
Hasn't got there.
item 11E, the discussion of Government Code Section 36513 and possible violations by Councilmember Drake Davis and whether a vacancy has occurred on the Yreka City Council to our next regular scheduled meeting, which I believe is April 1st.
April 1st. What's the, okay, so that's, okay, April 1st. You may, Councilman Clare.
So with Councilman Baker's motion, we are not making any decisions effective of 11E. Is that correct? We're just going to pick up our discussions at the next meeting. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's my motion.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's move to 11E and then move on with the, okay. Yes, that's right.
Point
Okay.
of clarity, and
Okay.
I'll direct this towards our city manager and our city attorney. They can answer together. So are we going to look into this further, or do we have to ask specifically for you to look into it further? Do we have to ask if we need to enlist a third party? That sort of thing.
That depends on the motion. The motion was to continue this item to the next meeting. That means nothing else happens unless you direct me to do something.
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah. Pardon me, this is Jason Ledbetter, the city manager. I believe, but Mr. Jared can clarify this for us, is that in this instance, you can't direct the city attorney to do this investigation or to give you some legal review or an opinion. You actually need to make a motion, and then 3 of you need to agree with that, and then that instigates the city attorney doing the work, because then you guys are a body making that decision rather than an individual. So if that's something that you would like to see happen, one of you would have to make that motion, get a second, do a roll call vote.
Thank you.
To instigate that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to, again, to bring in a third-party attorney, whether it is another company or is somebody in Colantonio, Highsmith and Watley. It remains to be determined, but I'd like to bring somebody in ASAP this week to help us to make some clarity out of this, because otherwise we're going to come to another meeting like this in 2 weeks and we will be just talking. So that's my motion.
Well,
And it fails.
Yeah, that doesn't, well, I don't know. I would just like to, I'm going to withdraw my motion. And I think we do need to get clarity, and I think I'll withdraw mine and go with the motion that's on the table from Councilman Baker, that we bring back 11E either on the next council meeting or as soon as possible for further discussion or what have you, but I want to get on with the other city business. And I'll go with her motion to withdraw 11E and get on with the rest of A, B, C, and D. Yeah, go ahead, raise your motion since I'm withdrawing mine. So for
Um,
clarity.
So my motion is that we continue 11E until the next regularly scheduled meeting, which is April 1st. That's my motion.
Okay.
And you said more sooner. That, but are you comfortable with her?
I'm comfortable with her motion, but if we can get it sooner, that'd be the best, so we can get on with business. So I'm just going with her motion, but I'm just stating, yeah. Okay, so the motion to withdraw 11E and bring that back April 1st, and I have a motion from Councilman Baker. I'll second the motion, and I'll do roll call. Councilman Clare,
Yes.
Councilman Davis. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy.
No, it needs to come back sooner.
I will be a yes. The motion passes 3 to 1 to move on. And yes. Oh. 10-minute? Okay. Everybody else agrees. So we'll take a 10-minute recess, then we'll get back to the business and let our fine folks go. I'm surprised I don't have to go.
This one I won't talk to the last. And people want to bathroom. You should appoint a board like not long. You sit there. Oh. And then you say, stop talking. Oh.
On your discount.
Yeah, on my little.
And you can just kind of
There is.
Like I said, I'm not gonna tell you to shut up. I said point of order.
I have recommended it to several people because they weren't aware that you careful of this step.
Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, when everybody gets talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Bats gonna be over, it's like coming hit me over the head with a bat. I know you have. I know you have, girl.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
She said.
Well, okay, good.
I don't know. I got a headache. What's that? I know. I want to move on. We're back to B. Amy, sorry. They should go fast. They take 10 minutes. She was back. Yeah. I said if only if we do the 10 minutes. Monuments, Jason said. Yeah.
A couple of those were the house. Oh, yeah.
You were back. Oh, she's back. You're back. Is it cold outside? Is it? It was so hot. I just now think it was so hot in here. They had that great, it was like 82 degrees in here when I got in here. I said, this is going down. It was so hot.
Jason says 10. I'm gonna say 10:15.
I wanted to say 35.
No, I'll say 10. How long? The longest we've gone has been about 11, 11:15, 11:30.
They told me that all this stuff was gonna be 20 minutes. They didn't get it in 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think the longest we've been, though, has been 11 or something.
What's that? That's what I thought. See? Colleen agrees with me.
But you got to hear the presentation.
Right. True, but he told me 20 minutes.
We'll see. I'm not counting. I told Connie, I said, I'll be home probably by 10:30. I said, it's gonna be a long, I said it's gonna be a long meeting, and it is. It's been a long meeting.
Yeah, for that part, but this part we're gonna say it's gonna be. The second.
Keep working on it, Juliana. Keep working on it. Maybe you'll have all your work done.
It's okay. That idiot. Here, my mouth. Just say the motions, we all agree, and good night. Items 11A through D.
Yeah, you can't. You can't.
Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't come with that idea. Colleen did, just for the record. Colleen thought of that.
Well, you don't have to
I
drive
was
over the
just
hill
going
tonight, right?
I was going along with her.
Are you cold, Jason?
I thought it was okay. I felt when the door was open that it got cold in there. Is everybody out of the? Yeah, we're good. Cool. We'll re-adjourn the Yreka City Council meeting. It's now 9:18 according to the City Council clock, and now we'll go back to 11. I'm gonna go to 11A, Human Resource Director and Lieutenant Pat Dirksen will be speaking. Agenda title: Discussion possible action to adopt resolution making necessary findings pursuant to Government Code 7522-56 for post-retirement employment of Joshua B. Tharsing and directing the city manager to execute an agreement regarding such employee. Good evening.
Good evening, council members. John Elsnab, HR Director. This is a resolution to bring back Mr. Tharsing. Previously was a retired annuitant with the city of Yreka, reinstated with Siskiyou County Office of Education, and has again retired, and we're looking to bring him back as a retired annuitant to help out at YPD with staffing coverage, backlog projects, and there's a special projects list and a retired annuitant contract that comes with this resolution. And in order to bring him back after retirement before his 180 days, that's why I'm here today in front of this council to seek authority to bring him back under the 180-day waiver.
All right. Thank you, John. Any questions from the City Council? No council for, or, no questions from the council. Any public comment? Okay, before I move on, was Lieutenant Dixon going to speak or just you? Oh, okay. I don't think anybody had any questions. So the recommended city council actions, the motion to adopt resolution 2025-08 of the city council of the city of Yreka, making necessary findings pursuant to government code 7522-56 for post-retirement employment of Joshua B. Tharsing and directing the city manager to execute an agreement regarding such employee. What are the wishes of the council?
So moved. This is Councilman McCoy.
I have a motion for Councilman McCoy
I'll second.
and a second from Councilman Clare. I'll do roll call. Councilman Clare,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman Pro Tem McCoy,
Yes.
and yes, Bear Middleton. So the motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
John, thanks. Janet.
Great. Okay. 11B, Finance Director. Agenda title, discussion and possible action to adopt resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Weist Law Firm. Is it Weist? Weist Law Firm and California Municipal Advisors LLC for developing a long-term financial plan, financial policies, and bond counsel services. Ms. Aldridge.
Good evening, council. To begin, I need to point out a clerical error. The resolution was missing a portion of, it says approving a budget appropriation in the amount of $50,000 should include for fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26. I have that to you. Sorry for the typo.
Okay.
This item was brought before Finance Committee and they recommended the bringing it before council for approval. This is actually two agreements, one with Cameron Weist Law Firm and one with California Municipal Advisors for the long-term financial planning and for the city of Yreka. The city of Yreka has continued to follow the four main priorities for the city, one of which is financial stability. Part of being financially stable is having a good financial plan going into the future, looking out 10, 20, even 30 years to maintain the level of service that we're currently providing and ensure the stability of the city. The city is doing our due diligence for ensuring that long-term financial security of the city. Reached out to Weist Law Firm in conjunction with California Municipal Advisors to help develop a long-term financial plan, including updating and developing our financial policies, our pension funding, as well as the agreement also provides for bond counsel services for when we get ready to go into construction financing for the fire hall. So this is setting up the financial background that we will need in order to make that building a reality. The financial impact is to be not to exceed 50,000 per year for fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26. Any questions?
All right. Any questions from council from Mrs. Aldrich regarding 11B?
We did talk about this at the finance committee meeting. Mhm.
And we recommended it.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to echo the finance director's statement that this was discussed at the finance committee meeting and with the recommendation to bring it forward for approval for the Yreka City Council.
And I'm in full agreement with the councilwoman.
All right. Thank you. Any comments from public comment from the public?
Steve Radford. Yeah, I'm in pretty good shape these days. It's my suspicion or my concern that we're overpaying a lot of people compared to what the community makes in their payroll or their household income. There's probably service members that are paid drastic amounts compared to even the people in their office underneath them, and to the public in this city, in this county, in the city, what we everyday Indians in the city make ourselves compared to what some of the found leaders are making. And it's just a suspicion that I have, and I don't think it's sustainable. And I don't think it's fair in a lot of ways either, that we're trying to keep up with salaries from Sacramento when we're this community way up here in this rural, different place of California. Unfortunately, it's California. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment and go to city council for the motion, the record, city council action motion to adopt resolution 2025-09 of the city council of the city of Yreka, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Weiss Law Firm for the long-term financial planning and approving a budget application in the amount of 50,000.
As amended.
What's that? As amended.
Thank you.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman McCoy
I'll second the motion.
and a second from Councilman Baker. Do roll call. Councilman Claire,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and Mayor Middleton. Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Rolling right along here. 11C, Municipal Projects Manager. This agenda title discussion possible action adopt a resolution authorizing an agreement with Mid-Pacific Engineers, MPE, for geotechnical services for the Yreka Fire Department new fire station project and approving a budget appropriation not to exceed $50,000. Cindy.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Cindy Lynch, Municipal Projects Manager. As you're aware, the city hired NMR to be our consultant regarding the fire engine architecture and engineering. They have been working diligently to make this project happen. And we are now at a point where we are preparing to purchase or looking at purchasing a site for the new fire station. And that's located at 915 South Main Street, where the old, what was it called? Shop Smart was, right? And we are now at the stage where, as part of due diligence, the city needs to do some geotechnical work on the site to determine whether the ground is sound enough and where all the literal pitfalls may be. And so we received a quote from Mid-Pacific Engineers of Reading. The base quote for the work to be done was $32,600. They did mention in their proposal that there may be a need for extra boring and soil sampling depending upon what they find in the initial work. And therefore, city staff has recommended creating an agreement with them and capping it at $50,000 to then bring back to council if it turns out that we need more funds to continue the work. NMR and our city attorney, Mr. Jared, have looked over the proposal and agreement, and they indicated that it was safe enough to do this. So I'm here for questions.
All right. Thank you, Cindy. I'll open up to council for questions. No? No? Over to this way? No? No questions? All right. I'll go to the public for public comment. If no public comment, the recommended city council action before you is the motion to adopt resolution 2025-10 of the city council of the city of Yreka authorizing an agreement with Mid-Pacific Engineers Incorporated, NPE, for geotechnical services for Yreka Fire Department for the new fire station project, improving budget appropriations not to exceed $50,000. What are the wishes of the council?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Baker. I will second the motion. Roll call. Councilman Claire,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and I, Mayor Middleton, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Cindy.
Oh, you're next. You're not. I was wondering where you weren't going anywhere. Okay. 11D. Agenda title: Discussion, possible action, adopt resolution authorizing agreement with Petrologic. Is it Petrologics
Mhm.
Incorporated for environmental services for the Yreka Volunteer Fire Department New Station project and approving a budget appropriation not to exceed $50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is another agreement along the same lines as the prior item. This is for environmental site assessments, which are required as part of, again, the due diligence. They have to be up to date before we enter into an agreement to protect ourselves and our liability so that we're not on the hook for a massive cleanup and unable to pay for it. The city received a base quote for phase 1 and phase 2 ESAs in the amount of $17,250. And again, there was a caveat that once they begin the assessment, it's hard to know what we're going to find and how much it will cost to do further testing. So again, it seemed reasonable to cap the initial agreement at $50,000 so that we could do the work that was necessary and then come to council and request more if needed. And I'm here for questions if you have any.
All right. Thank you, Cindy. Questions from council? Okay. No council, no questions from council. I'll go to public for public comment. Okay, no public comment. Direct with City Council action before you is the motion to approve resolution 2025-11 of the City Council of the City of Yreka authorizing agreement with Petrologics Incorporated for environmental services for the Yreka Fire Department new fire station project, approving a budget appropriation not to exceed $50,000. Were the wishes of the council?
So moved. This is Councilman McCoy.
I have a motion for Councilman McCoy
I'll second.
and a second from Councilman Clare. Roll call, Councilman Clare,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Yes.
Councilman Baker,
Yes.
Councilman McCoy,
Aye.
and Mayor Middleton is aye. So the motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Cindy, so much. Okay. So I'm gonna go to item number 12, city manager and staff reports.
Yeah, this is Jason Ledbetter, the Yreka City Manager. I'm going to keep this relatively brief. First of all, I'm going to just say thank you to the Yreka City Council for the last two items that they just passed. These are crucial steps in moving forward on the property sale agreement for standing up a brand new fire hall, and we're extremely excited that these items passed tonight and they propel us the next step further to start work on the site to assess the site for feasibility. So thank you very much for that. Secondly, I did drive to Portland yesterday to meet with Pacificor and got back here just before the start of this meeting today. That meeting went rather well. And then I have been meeting also with the Resource Center. And you can expect at some point to see an opportunity to reach an agreement or an MOU or some type of a contract with them where they would be facilitating some work within the city, including movies in the park as well for children, as well as a Kids Day, an annual Kids Day event, and then multiple education opportunities for families and counseling sessions at the Resource Center. So I look forward to bringing that item to you probably in the coming 60 days at a future meeting. That's all I have this evening, and then we will hear from Fire Chief Lemos as well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Chief Lemos.
Feel tall now. That's good. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and I will start by reiterating Mr. Ledbetter's comments that, yeah, thank you for those two actions by the council to get that done. That's very exciting. So I'm just here tonight to give you some stats and some good news for the department. So from 2024, I didn't really give you any stats from 24. It was essentially the same as it has been. We were over 2,000 responses for the year. Obviously, the majority were medical aids, and that ranged from, I think it was 1,530 calls that we had that were of medical nature. 23 structure fires, that was some in town. They come in as a structure fire. Sometimes it's nothing, and sometimes it's a fully involved structure, and also fires that were out of town that we responded to. So that just gives you a total. For January of this year, 2025, the medical aids, everything's been relatively the same percentages. It hasn't really changed that much. We're at 138 for the month of January for medicals. Fires, structure fires over 6, and no, that's not right there. That number's not right. So that was 3 vehicle fires for the month of January for a total of 187. February, we had 2 structure fires, 1 vehicle fire, and a lot of the 21 public services. So a lot of lift assist and that type of call. And then for March, I don't have them split out for call type, but they're 440 calls so far for the year. And March was, we're right along those same percentages of over 80% medical. The exciting thing is that we have 27 members in our department. I may have passed that on to you earlier, but that's very exciting. They're all working really hard. We have 2 that will graduate here in May, 1 through the fire academy, and he will get his firefighter 1, and 1 in the paramedic program. Great young man, and he's up for our firefighter of the year coming up in April for the firefighter of the year dinner. So that's who the department nominated. So training is going great. We have scheduled an elevator rescue, which we've never had and needed. We have that through the instructor at COS, Mr. Chris Delcor. And after that, in April, we have wildland preparedness here in town. We host here in the city. And lastly, but not least, is live fire training for some of the younger folks at COS that we're trying to put together, and it's looking like we're going to get that done. So nothing like the real thing to get them, get their sea legs. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Yes.
I'm going to keep it really short.
All right.
Sure.
You mentioned something about elevator training.
Elevator rescue, yes, ma'am.
So it's just training. You haven't been to the courthouse to rescue anybody out of
Nope.
the elevator
No.
yet.
I was there when they put that in, and I got training on how it works, and I've already forgotten it. So it's because I haven't had to go over there. So that's good. We haven't had any in a little while, but we're going to learn how to do it, and then we're going to get purchase a set of tools that Mr. Delcor, the instructor, is going to show us how to use. So you might have a medical emergency in one of those, and it's very critical that you know how to get them out safely. So we've needed it for a long time. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Chief Lemus, what's the status of fire personnel on being able to fight lithium battery fires in cars and big trucks, 18-wheelers?
I'm glad you asked that. So currently, through the Fire Chiefs Association, Chief Bernie Paul has been able to procure, it's not delivered yet, but we're going to have a trailer dedicated to go anywhere in the county for electric vehicle fires. And we have one is, and I'll bring some information on that to display when it comes in, but it's a dam. So if we have say we have a Tesla as an example, you can surround that with these plastic, you've probably seen them. They use them for flooding. They're orange. They go together, and you can just fill that, and the water won't exit out the sides. It'll fill up underneath the car and get it above to where the battery compartment is, provided it's on its wheels, and then you can put the fire out that way.
Thank you, sir.
And then a blanket. So
Thank you.
stay tuned.
All right.
Good. Thank you.
Any other council members? No questions. Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And through the chair, I do have one item just to bring to the council's attention, if that's okay.
Yes.
Very quickly, just to let the members of the public and the council know, we do have an open survey right now collecting information on people's design preferences for urban design. We are required to adopt objective design standards for housing within the city. And so we've expanded that to getting more input from people on what that looks like, putting that ordinance together. And then we'll rope that information into our general plan process as well with an urban design section within the land use element. And so we are looking for public feedback at this time. There is information on our website, on the general plan website. We also have hard copies in City Hall. They're in both English and in Spanish. And people can also contact me as well to get that information.
And what does this?
I think we had decided to extend it, but I believe right now it's March 28th. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Juliana. No other staff. We'll move to council members if they are inclined to do so. I'm going to pass tonight, so I'll be the first one to say I'm going to pass. Councilman Claire passes.
I don't believe that the Fire Safe Council will meet next week. And I think I reported on what was the week before, month before.
Yes.
And I haven't done anything else on the Greenway or Greenhorn Park walkabouts.
All right. It's been calm then. Councilman Baker.
I have 6 pages of notes that I'll condense down to 30 seconds or less. I would like to, at the next regular meeting during reports, I'll be reporting on a housing conference that I attended a couple of weeks ago. On March 11th, the Communications Ad Hoc Committee met, and there were 5 members of the public who voiced their desire to have the meetings, the council meetings resume over Zoom. And the committee did recommend that this issue be brought back to the full council for discussion and a decision pending confirmation of technical support and viability. And then on March 10th, I met with a group of Yreka mobile home owners who are concerned about their ever increasing space rents. And the group has some ideas on relief from this issue and maybe coming before the city council within the next few months, asking for some city assistance. And then on March 16th, I attended the Seventh-day Adventist School production of The Orphan Train. It was very enjoyable, and every single cast member was very, very talented. But I have to just go ahead and mention that I believe that Yreka's own Otto Ledbetter really stole the show with his singing. So, I will be on vacation, March 21st through the 30th in Mexico. And
I might be in your suitcase.
and finally, Mr. Ledbetter, would you extend my thanks to the city staff who was here tonight? The extra long hours, I know. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I will let Mr. Otto Ledbetter know of your comments as well. Thank you very much.
Councilman McCoy.
I'll piggyback on what the councilwoman said. Otto did a great job. James's son and his daughter did a fabulous job as well. It was
Yes.
wonderful. It was, the Nelsons always do a good job. They did a great job. COC meeting was last Wednesday. I think we may have had 9 people there at the most. Probably the big thing that came out of it was that, you've all probably seen it, is that the pallet shelters are going up. The county has asked that we stay away from it. It's an active construction site and they don't want OSHA to come in and shut them down. There are 17 pallets up right now, as well as the main hall and 2 bathrooms. The shelters are all air conditioned, heated. It's very good. And it looks to me like they are pallet shelters, because it was Pallet Shelter who was there putting them up. And Pallet Shelter is owned by a woman up in Seattle, and she basically tries to hire only veterans and homeless people. So, and then the next COC meeting is April 2nd, and I will conclude with that.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So with that said, thank you for coming. We'll adjourn the meeting at 9:44 p.m. According to that clock. Everybody have a good evening. Be safe. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.